Today, I'm sharing 5 homemade ice cream recipes you will love. Join along for Mocha Oreo ice cream, orange creamsicle, mint chocolate chip, dark chocolate fudge, and a classic strawberry ice cream. There are timestamps for all of these recipes in the description box, so you can skip around if there is a particular recipe you want to see. But first up on the ice cream list is Mocha Oreo. Now, unlike a lot of coffee ice cream recipes, I actually use 2 shots of espresso rather than powdered espresso, because if I buy a big thing of powdered espresso, I'm never going to use all of it, and I think it tastes better this way. So this is 2 shots of espresso, and then I am topping it off with a cup of milk. And then I am adding in, I think it's 2 tablespoons of dark cocoa powder. You could use whatever cocoa powder you prefer. I just like dark chocolate best, so that's what I'm using. Now, one thing that you'll notice about these recipes across the board, whether it's one you find online or in this video, they all use about the same ingredients. It's usually somewhere around a cup to a cup and a half of milk and 2 cups of heavy cream and 3/4 cups of sugar. And in general, ice cream recipes are either with eggs or without. So this is an example of without eggs. And now I'm just adding in a little bit of vanilla. Most recipes call for 1 teaspoon. I always add 2. And then I'm mixing everything up and just pouring it right into the container from my ice cream maker. Now, I have a full YouTube video that talks about this ice cream maker in comparison to the very popular Ninja Creami. I got a lot of hate for saying that I didn't like the Ninja Creami. Sorry, internet, but I really love this ice cream maker because you just put your ingredients right in there, hit go, and it's done in 45 minutes. Once the ice cream is done in the machine, I am just crushing up about 10 Oreos. You can use more or less. I encourage you to make your ice cream exactly how you love it. And in my opinion, the more Oreos, the merrier. And I like them, of course, crushed up, but kind of in bigger chunks. The deal with homemade ice cream is often for most ice cream makers, when it comes out of the machine, it's pretty soft, more akin to a soft serve. And now it's very delicious this way, but if you want a scoopable ice cream, you will need to freeze it for a little bit longer, somewhere between 4 and 8 hours. Freezing it in a baking dish that's square or rectangular helps it freeze a little bit faster because it's not quite as thick. So now I'm just stirring in these crushed up Oreos, and then I'm covering it with plastic so I can freeze it for a little bit longer. But one trick with the plastic is if you press the plastic down on top of the ice cream, of course you don't want to squish it into the ice cream, but just let it lay flat on there. That will prevent any ice crystals from developing. And after it freezes for a while, you can see this is a nice scoopable ice cream. One of the things I want to share in this video is how to make ice cream with eggs, because I think sometimes that can feel a little bit intimidating. So next up, I am making an orange creamsicle ice cream, and this is one of my all-time favorite flavors. I'm probably going to say that for every ice cream because I've never really met an ice cream I don't like, but this is a classic summer ice cream. Most egg ice cream or custard recipes recommend warming the milk or the cream or a combination thereof with the sugar. What I like to do is get the milk and the sugar in the pot, but with the heat off, just so the sugar can start to dissolve a little bit. And while that's happening, I am separating out the whites and the yolks. For this recipe, I'm using 5 egg yolks. Then once I get everything warmed up, I'm taking 2 ladlefuls of the warm milk mixture and stirring it into the egg yolks to temper them. So I like to just pay attention to when the milk starts to steam, and when it steams, that's when I temper the eggs. Then I'm just pouring all the eggs right into the pot. And I like to use a thermometer for this just because sometimes I can get distracted. So once it hits 170 degrees Fahrenheit, I take it off the heat and I strain it into a larger bowl. The straining is to make sure just no cooked egg gets in there. I just poured in the remaining cold cream and adding in the vanilla, and adding in a little bit of cold cream at the end like that cools things down a little bit and helps stop the cooking process. But now that you know how to make an egg ice cream base, you can make any egg ice cream because it's all done the same way. You probably just saw me put orange zest in there, and I would not recommend that. I did not like the orange zest in it, but the fresh squeezed orange was really good. I used about 1/2 cup of fresh orange juice, and then I chilled it in the fridge just about maybe 4 hours or so it wasn't going into the machine hot, and then the rest was history. next up on the list of homemade ice creams is a mint chocolate chip. And what's really cool about this is now that you know how to make an eggless ice cream, you can make this one too, because the recipes are the exact same. The Mocha Oreo and this one are identical. The only difference is there's no espresso, and instead of vanilla, I'm using 2 teaspoons of peppermint extract. Now, you could use fresh mint. I am not growing mint for the first time ever this year because I never use it. In the 1 year that I'm not growing it, I actually need it. So I'm using peppermint extract. In short, I am mixing together a cup of whole milk, 3/4 cups of sugar, 2 cups of heavy cream, peppermint extract, and then I'm running it through the machine. And for the chocolate chips, I am just chopping up some dark chocolate Ghirardelli chips. You can use whatever chocolate you prefer, whether it's little mini chocolate chips, chocolate bar, Andes mints would be really good in here. It's totally up to you. But as always, I recommend using what you love.
Whoa! I like that ice cream. What is that?
That's mint ice cream, sweetheart.
Can I try some?
Sure. Some sneaky little bites going on there when I turned my back. This ended up being a fan favorite around our house, and it tasted like a really classic mint chocolate chip ice cream. Okay, next up is a dark chocolate fudge ice cream. Now, this is another egg ice cream, and you already know how to temper the eggs if you watched the orange creamsicle recipe earlier in the video. But what I wanted to show you with this is how to use actual chocolate for chocolate ice cream, because a lot of recipes call for cocoa powder, which is fine, but this is a much richer, thicker ice cream. Though it's not technically a gelato, it definitely has that sort of texture and flavor to it. Where this differs from the orange creamsicle ice cream is that first I am warming 1 cup of cream and cocoa powder. Then once that comes to a boil, I am adding in about 8 ounces of dark chocolate chips, taking it off the heat and then stirring it together until it melts. And then the process is the exact same. I'm warming up the milk and the sugar, tempering the eggs, straining it, and then I'm adding in that custard base to the chocolate base. One thing that really elevates and takes your ice cream to next level flavors is to use a homemade vanilla. I have a video on YouTube showing how to make homemade vanilla. I'll link that in the description box below. But I like to use vanilla that I make with bourbon because it adds just a deeper flavor to it. Last but not least is a classic strawberry ice cream made with real strawberries. I made something similar on YouTube recently. It was a peach egg-based ice cream. I'll link that in the description box below. But I really want to show you how to make ice cream with real fruit. So generally, most recipes recommend slicing your fruit and then mixing it with about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of sugar and letting it sit just so it can turn into a syrup. And then while that is doing its thing, I am just getting the other ingredients prepared. But there are 2 ways you can incorporate fruit into your ice cream. One, you can mash it up and then fold that fruit in later before you freeze it. Or you can do what I'm doing here and blend it up so it turns into more of a juice or a syrup. What I like about this method is that sometimes if you have whole pieces of fruit in your ice cream, it can get a little hard when it freezes. And with the 3-year-old around, I don't want any hard pieces in our ice cream. And also, I don't love pieces of strawberry in my strawberry ice cream, but you could do it either way. So once I have that blended up, I'm just mixing it into the milk, sugar, vanilla, and cream. And then you guessed it, I'm running it through the machine until it is finished, freezing it, and then we enjoy it later. And as I've mentioned, once you understand the base recipes of ice cream, whether it's eggless or with egg, with fruit, or with add-ins, you can really tailor these however you want because they're made just about the same way. So once you kind of get a grip on how to make it, you can start adjusting the ingredients to suit your tastes. I hope this video has inspired you to make your own ice cream because once you make homemade ice cream, you will never go back to store-bought. Thanks so much for tuning into Moon and Magnolia's YouTube channel where we elevate the everyday from scratch and at home, and I'll see you again next time.